All right. So thank you, Carolyn, for a great introduction. Um, so Carolyn is correct. My heart desire was always that I wanted to use like herb and plant to help people to like get better and like just feel better. And so here it goes, fast forward last year, which was 21 years later after I graduated high school, which I was telling my mom that's what I wanted to do. And then we were in a course together. We were taking a landmark course, personal developmental course together, the course called Wisdom. And it was on the very last day. Here goes, we're 10 months together, like, and we meet every week. And then he mentions about a book. And I'm like, wait, what did you just say? And he mentions about this book. And so I studied as I got the book and I read the book. And on the same day, he also talks about the school start. And I was just like, oh my God, I want to get into school. I want to do this. He's like, read the book first, and then we can talk about it. And I was like, no. I want to get into school. He's like, read the book. So I got this book on Audible and actually listened to it like within 24 hours. And I called him and I said, how do I get into the school? And so reading this book, it's so amazing because I resonate so much with this book. There's stories in there. There are marmas, which is a pressure point. There's like home remedies in there. Like it just goes deep and talks about so many things. And I remember when I started with Dr. Lobson, 2006, 7, and that was the time that I was like gave up on like pretty much all the doctors because I was dealing with this headache since I was 13 and no one could figure out what is going on with me. And so here goes, he checks my pulse, both of them, and then he just like gives me some herbs to take and then gives me some diet. And I look at the diet, I'm like, oh my Lord, my diet's already limited. And here goes, he makes it even more limited. But I was just like, after like some thinking, and I was like, what the heck do I have to lose? Like, I've tried everything, nothing worked. Sure, I'll give this a try. And it's so when the writer, the author of this book, when he writes, he also has his like skeptical that, is this really going to work? Like, even I wanted to use the plant to help other people. But since I hit so many dead end, and from the world that I knew, which was the Western medicine, this, like, I was just like, oh my God, I so relate to this book. So I was just like, oh my Lord, I really have to get into the school. So I did.
Here's the title of the book.
Oh, so the title of the book is Ancient Secret of a Master Healer. And I love this very first quote on the book that started. It says, I didn't come to teach you. I came to love you. Love will teach you. And it's so amazing that we see that this like exists like everywhere, that if we just go with head and wanting to like force someone to teach them anything, if it's about spirituality, if it's about religion, if it's about love, if it's about diet, doesn't matter what it is. If we go with head, if we go with force, the other person will like hold to their point of view, and there's just like no. But when we go with love, we can teach so much with love. And they just came out with this book, which actually today the people that were on the call, they gave this as a Mother's Day gift to all the mothers. So it's the new book that they came out with, and it's all the recipes that it's in here. And I'm so excited to just be able to like check the different recipes. And I love that they're helping with actually orphanage in Nepal with the proceed from this book. So it's so beautiful to see all of that. And I'm going to let Dr. Steve shares. And I end up actually in the school, and I went to India for 2.5 months. And I had an amazing time when I was in India. And so much to share, but I'm going to let him share. And I'll tell you my personal story of being in India and what I discovered, and the amount of, like, with this as simple as shifting in a diet, and like it's just one thing that we eat daily and we think this is just food, but it's actually poison. It might be amazing for him, but it's actually poison for my body. And just seeing like removing certain things out of people's diet, that is how much health comes into play, and what of like the miracles that people get to experience. So here you are.
So back to the book. You can buy them both on Amazon. It's Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer, and it's by Clint Rogers. And the cookbook is the Ancient Secrets Cookbook. It's a print-on-demand book by Carol K. Ray. But it has all these great recipes, because the importance of Ayurveda is that you're an individual. I bumped into Ayurveda in 1990. Someone introduced me to a book by Deepak Chopra called Perfect Health. And I read the book and it made sense of all the different diets out there: natural hygiene, macrobiotics, keto, vegetarianism, like so many different, it makes sense. But who is which diet for? You as an individual. Then I started to study with Dr. Chopra, and then Dr. Vasant Lad started to teach me Pulse. And then I bumped into Dr. Pankaj Naram through someone who walked in my office, saw that I had some Ayurvedic herbs, and she said, my fiance's teacher is going to be just 3 hours from here. And I'm like, 3 hours? I'm going to drive 3 hours to hear someone speak. And it changed my life. He was really a master healer. And the first time he met me in a consultation, he took my pulse, not knowing anything about me, and said, you should work for me. And I said, I'd love to work for you. And he said, that desk over there. And I literally walked over to this little desk and I was working for him. They sent me, they gave me a telephone of someone he talked to, and I was doing the post consultation. But it's like I was meant to be there and meant to go. I traveled with him a number of places in the United States. And then I got to travel to India to study with him. And we got to sit sometimes from 11 in the morning till 2 in the morning, and we'd see 400 to 500 patients. And I said that slowly because it seems like, how is that possible? But he's a master. It took him no more than 30 seconds to a minute per patient, and people were 100% satisfied because of his focus and his clarity and his ability to just see people as they are. On Mondays was my favorite day because we took care of handicapped children, and some could not walk and talk, and some walked and talked by the end of a 20 or 30-minute session. Not well, but amazing, remarkable. My favorite thing is sometimes the mother would go, oh, they can't talk. And he'd go, ma'am, please wait out in the hallway. And they'd come back and their child was talking, or their child was walking. Because sometimes our belief systems are what holds us back. So today, I'm going to give you just some concepts about Ayurveda. Ayurveda is the science of life, or the science of longevity. It was not like made by trying. Oh, let's try this. Let's try that. It was cognized by rishis who sat in deep meditation and observed. They saw someone eat a berry and they felt better. They saw someone else eat the same berry and they got a bellyache. So by observing life, these rishis came up with this science of life, science of longevity. And that everything is an inside job. It has to do with, here's our hand and here's our mouth. That's during my first Tony Robbins seminar, he explained the difference of our health is between our hand and our mouth. Like, we have a choice here. And sometimes it's not us who want to eat. We're made up of all these bacteria and viruses and different things in our body. And the more we eat something like sugar or dairy or wheat, those bacteria grow and they want more and they'll yell for more. So it's an inside job. Sometimes we just have to stop. And a big part of Ayurveda is just stopping. Be silent, eat simple food, maybe 1 or 2 foods at a time, and see what happens. We've had many miracles happen over the past few years. There's a big thing online that happens every Sunday, and we've seen people come out of wheelchairs. We've seen people go off medications they were dependent on. With their doctor started to take them off because they were getting better by being simple. And sometimes, as Mojdeh was saying, sometimes it's something we're just eating that's eating us inside. Sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally, sometimes spiritually, like Carolyn was saying. So there are 4 pillars of health: physical, mental, social, and spiritual. We need to take care of all these parts. And I think Carolyn mentioned that in some of the quotes she was saying. We need to take care of our physical health, our vessel. My teacher, Saima, who I've been studying with for many years, she said, it's just the body. It's not Steve. Steve is my personality. But the body, we need to feed the body what the body needs, not necessarily what Steve wants or what someone's feeding you. You need to make some discernment about what goes in our body, but also what goes in our ears and what goes in our eyes and what goes in our nose and how we are touched in our bodies. So we need to take care of our mental health also. Mental health can affect our physical health. Social, just like we're doing today, we're hanging out, satsang, good people. It's a term in Sanskrit, satsang. And it's so important who we spend our time with and our spiritual path, our enlightenment. We need to be moving forward. Sai Baba, one of my teachers in India, used to say, do you want to stay in kindergarten your whole life? And we need to move on to first grade, to second grade, to third grade. And then another table, and I always talk about tables because when I was younger, I worked in a kosher deli. And we had these little tables. And first thing you had to do every day is put little pieces of napkins or matchbooks under the legs of the tables so they'd be balanced when you served people food on them. So they wouldn't get their matzo ball soup mixed up with their corned beef sandwich or something like that. So we need to balance this: sleep, digestion, our elimination, and our mind. Because any of these can affect the others. If we don't sleep at night, it affects our mind. We're tired, we're restless, we're anxious. Our mind can affect our digestion. Our mind can affect our elimination. Our elimination, when will I go? Where will I go? I can't leave the house. Affects everything. So we need to balance this table. We need good sleep based on our own body type, good digestion based on what we can digest. It's not necessarily what we eat, it's what we can digest and what we can eliminate. And all of that affects our minds. That word hangry, if we're hungry, it affects our minds. We get hangry. So everything in life, this table here, is made up of 5 elements. So are we: space, air, fire, water, and earth. We see some Sanskrit terms on the side here. Everything is made up of that. The difference between lead and gold, gold is worth so much, lead is poison. It's just the difference of this space, air, fire, water, and earth. But our body is made up of this. Foods are made up of this. Temperature, water, things like that. The weather. Everything: space, air, fire, and earth, water, and earth. And it affects us differently as individuals. Some people are bothered by humidity. Some people are bothered by dryness. Some people are bothered by too much heat, too much cold. We need to control that in our lives. That's why we have heat and air conditioning and coats and boots. We can help control this to bring balance to our lives. But if we don't know what our balance is, then we don't know how to balance it. We bring in things through sound, through touch, through sight, through smell, through taste. Taste is such a important part. A lot of people during COVID lost their taste and smell, changed their whole lives. We take in so much through our senses. So we need to take care of our senses, our ears. So we hear, we speak, we touch, we move. Our body does all these things based on experiences of what we're taking in. So we take care of our ears. Important. We take care of our skin. Skin, the largest organ of the body. We take care of our eyes, our tongue, so we can taste, and our nose, so we can smell. Because if right now there was a gas leak and I couldn't smell it, of course, it would be over very quickly. So we need to make sure, and Ayurveda is very keen on taking care of all these senses. That way it stimulates the brain properly. There's so much about dementia and Alzheimer's. It's because we have lack of stimulation properly in our body. These are uniquely Ayurvedic concepts: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Vata being mostly space and air. We talk about those elements again. Pitta being fire with a little bit of water. And why do we say that? If you were ever young in a campfire, you took a paper cup of water and put it in the fire, cup didn't burn until the water boiled off. So even our fire has some control. Water and earth, if anyone has ever grabbed and clumped together earth and smell, it has a smell to it. We are a combination of this Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, all of us, but all a little bit differently, based on our genetics, based on where we were born, based on 7 generations back, affects our health right now. Things even skip generations. So Vata is mostly a principle of movement: dry, cold, light, irregular, mobile, quick. Irregular is twice because it's so irregular, and rough. But we see that when we get too much Vata, our skin can be cracked and flaky, our heels. We can have dryness in our eyes, dryness in our hair. When we look at Pitta, which is more fire, oily, hot, light, intense, fluid, malodorous, pungent, and sour, we can think of this as food also. Like Vata, we just talked about that dryness. We could talk about a cracker. Do you ever eat a cracker and then another cracker and another cracker? We get dried out. Can cause constipation, which is a Vata irregularity. We can eat a jalapeno pepper. Do you ever work with jalapenos and then you like touch your eye? Oh my God, right? Burning, hot, intense. Can cause burning here on the lips and burning as it comes out the body, based on your body type. If you get aggravated by that, some people can eat hot, spicy food, no problem. Some people, immediately my stomach hurts. I can't eat green hot, but I can eat red hot, like chili powder kind of hot, but I can't eat green, like green chili kind of hot. I can eat red pepper spice. And then Kapha, which I have a lot in my system: unctuous, cold, heavy, stable, viscous, dense, smooth, almost like yogurt. You know, yogurt, you can take it out of the refrigerator and an hour later, it's still cold. It holds onto things. So I need to be careful with my body, because my body tends to hold, to eat foods that are more moving, that are more subtle. Cold can be like yogurt, dairy, cheese, things like that, that are heavy and dense. I'm going to just skip over these here. Kapha, that heaviness, we find mostly in this area of our body. We get chest congestion, sinuses, headaches. In the middle of our bodies, we get mostly like ulcers and aggravated stomach, agita, things like that. And the colon, we have a constipation, diarrhea, different things based on our body type. I'm just going to skip through some of these. This is a set of teaching slides. So we're going to go through this Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and I want people to raise their hands. I can't see everyone, so I'm going to just assume you're raising your hands there. But see if this makes sense to you. Vata constitution: light, thin frame, active, restless, creative mind, variable diet and sleep patterns, prominent veins and tendons, dry skin and hair. And here's the big one: anxiety and insomnia under stress. How many people are like that? Some could raise 2 hands. And then Pitta constitution, and some won't raise their hands at all. My hand didn't go up for that one. Pitta constitution, medium frame, keen intellect, strong appetite and digestion, fine, thin hair, warm extremities, perspires easy, and this is the big one, anger and irritability under stress. How many people are like that? I'm a little bit like that. But do you see, we're different. Kapha constitution, heavy-set build, methodical, thoughtful nature, slow, steady appetite and digestion, smooth, soft, lustrous complexion, thick, wavy, oily hair, deep, prolonged sleep, and calm and easygoing under stress. Those are my two hands going up. So we're all different. We all react differently to nature. And how do we observe this? So as a Ayurvedic practitioner, as a chiropractor, I'm looking visually. How are people walking? How are people talking? Looking at their face. You can learn a lot by looking at their face. We palpate. We touch people. I touch people to see if there's congestion in the body, heat in the body, stiffness in the body. Unique to Ayurveda and also other Asian art forms are taking of the pulse. Not just to know the rhythm of the heart, but there are many layers, 7 layers of rhythms in the pulse that you can see different variations of this Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and also subcategories of that. We're having a very skilled Ayurvedic practitioner. He'll be at my home office here Tuesday and Wednesday. And we do consultations with people in person, and we do consultations with people over the phone. You can be very helpful to people, even if you don't see them in person, by knowing their diagnosis, listening to what's going on in their body. You can help people. It's great if you can be able to touch their pulse, but it's not a necessary thing. Some Ayurvedic practitioners ask you about your stool, like, how is it shaped? What color is it? Does it float? Does it sink? Some look at the urine, color, smell, different things like that. And then we look at diet, but not diet based on whole. We look at sweet, sour, salty, pungent, astringent. The different tastes are very important, especially when you get all 6 tastes in your body. You get satisfaction from eating. So then at the end of the meal, you don't go, maybe I need some ice cream. Usually that's the choice of, well, they need something sweet because they're not satisfied, because sweet is very satisfying in that way. And then different suggestions on how to eat. And that's a lot in the cookbook. I'm just going to go through these quickly. And then we look at, so what is health? Health is not the lack of symptoms. Lack of symptoms, having no symptoms doesn't mean you're healthy. We need balance in the body. And sometimes when you have a symptom, what do? In medicine? We stop the symptom. But sometimes that symptom is actually trying to cure the body or heal the body. So sama dosha, sama agni chai. So when the doshas, the vata, pitta, kapha are balanced, the different digestive forces in the body are balanced. When our mind, when we release all the toxins in our body, when our mind is clear and centered, that's where health is. And then what about the seasons of the body? What about the goals of life? And then how do we get disease? Disease doesn't come out of nowhere. Something like arthritis or heart disease might take 15, 20, 30 years to manifest in the body. And we look at the causes of a disease. Pragnapara, mistake of the intellect. Oh, my friend lost weight doing that. I'll do that diet. Oh, my friend took this. I'll take that. Oh, that person had that operation. Maybe I should get that operation. We try to use our minds to heal our bodies instead of using all of our senses and sometimes a guide. Unwholesome contact of the senses, too much violence, too much cold or light or dark, different things that have happened in our past, seasonal causes. And also in Ayurveda, thousands of years ago, they knew about viruses and bacteria, but they weren't afraid of them. They strengthened the body against them. How much ojas or life force you have, how much toxins you have in the body. And we really want to eliminate the toxins. And that's a big part of our Ayurvedic path, is to do some what's called detox or fasting. But we do food fasting. We don't eliminate everything. We eat just one or two simple things. We do this mung bean soup recipe, very simple. And we remove these accumulated toxins. And when toxins accumulate, our bucket spills over, and that causes disease. We see it as foul breath, coated tongue, dull appetite, sluggish digestion, generalized pain, and fatigue. So we balance the doshas, we live properly in our daily routines, and we seek enlightenment in our life. We increase our digestion, both physical and mental, and we eliminate and we clear the channels of the body. And this is the little quote: you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So doing simple things, we eat a lot of these simple mung beans. We make this mung bean soup, add different spices to our foods to aid our digestion. And that is the end of the talk. Ta-da! And now I'll pass it over. More story time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I learned a lot. I learn when I teach. I enjoy that.
And it's great because when we were doing, so when I was in India, it wasn't like, okay, here's the herb, take the herbs, and that's the end of it. But it's actually like they're looked at like, okay, what is my diet? So they put me on a specific diet, which was the simplest diet ever, which was mung soup. And I pretty much ate mung soup most of the time. And in uncertain days, anyone that is going through like let's say when they meet with practitioner, there's 6 different tools that it's being used to help restoring health in the body, which is restoring balance, bringing balance in between all the doshas. So one is lifestyle changes, as easy as like the time we go to sleep and the time we wake up. And then because our body has a clock, right? So if you look like years ago, right, before all these technology, everything existed, sun went down, a couple hours after sun went down, food was done and people went to sleep. And then when sun came up, we woke up, because our body, like the pitta, vata, kapha, have hours actually going on during the day. So if you don't wake up, you can do this experiment for yourself. Like when you wake up later in a day, if you wake up like it's your day off, you stay up late and then you sleep in and you wake up, instead of waking up the usual yourself at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, now you go ahead and wake up at 10 or 11, you already went to kapha time, which is the sluggish, heavy time. So when you wake up, you're not this charged and happy and light and easy going. You're more sluggish because you've already gone into kapha time and you woke up at that time. So the same way that the nature has its rhythm, we have the seasons. Our body has the seasons. Our body has the alarm clock that we go with it. But this day and age, we push against it. So that's one thing that we do. And then the other one is the diet, which is the simple diet. Instead of saying okay, only eat this, only eat that. No, you're removing everything. You go simple and you only eat simple diet, and to allow restoration happens into the body, to bringing inflammation down in the body. And so then you can start by adding things as time goes on. You can start adding things into your food, to your diet. And then you can see ooh, I don't do well with this one. Okay, so I'm going to say no to this. And then you just continue going. So that's how they do. And then the other one is the home remedies, right? All the spices and the things we have in a cabinet, they're actually medicine. Like turmeric is a medicine, right? Like cumin is medicine. For example, if someone has too much heat in their body, they can do something called CCF, which is cumin, coriander, and fennel. You can use 2 tablespoons of each, soak it in 1 liter of water, and then you can drink that during the day. So summertime's coming up, so heat comes up. So it's outside is hot, so therefore our body is going to heat up. So you can, instead of drinking ice cold water, you can drink this, and it will help cool your inside within, instead of like just cooling off your stomach with the cold water, which actually cold water is one thing they say not to drink, because we kill our digestive fire, which is something that actually I found out when I was in India. The other thing is the marma, which is the pressure points, right? So there are different pressure points. So like, so when you go acupuncture, there are different needles, pressure points that you use. So it's the same thing that you do. Actually, there's a different pressure points that you can do that will help with, different things that you're dealing with. So for example, let me ask a question. I don't know. I'm only seeing 3 people, but raise your hand somehow, one way or another, and tell me, does anybody has trouble sleeping, staying asleep, falling asleep, anything with sleep?
Oh, people are coming on now. Look at that. They're waking up.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So one of the thing is that, so instead of like, we can actually look at the different things to see what's going on. What can we use to help us sleep? So when vata is high, so instead of, when vata goes up, it goes into our head. That's where anxiety and like everything comes up, and it imbalances the sleep. So one thing, simple thing that you can do, it's using ghee. Okay, so before going to sleep, you can use.
So ghee is clarified butter.
Yes, and it's cow ghee. So you want to, in Ayurveda, you want to use cow ghee. So you can use organic cow ghee, and you can get it at any of the Indian stores, health food stores. You can get it on Amazon, but I get mine at the either health food store or Indian store. And so what you can do is you can grab ghee, and on both of your feet and the bottom and just whole of your feet, you massage your feet nicely about 5 to 7 minutes, both of your feet. Okay. And then you're going to grab some ghee, about this much, and you put it in your belly button, because that's another mouth of us is belly button. So you put it in the belly button, and you just don't need to like really rub it, but you just press it in. And then you're just going to grab some, and you're going to put it on your temples, and you're going to go clockwise, which is going forward. So you're going to use 2 hands, and you're just going to go massage this nice temple area, and you're going to do that for about 2 minutes. Okay, and then when you're done, you can use your 1 finger and just pull it down. That helps actually calming the mind down. And then you're going to grab some, and you put it on your crown, and you're just going to massage that. And that simple remedy helps you with sleep. And you're just going to do that. It's like, the difference is, one thing that I notice is like, we are going into it. We are in a kind of culture that we want things like this. I call it, we want microwave results, right? So, but here's the thing. When you cook a food in an oven, what's the difference between taste of that and when you cook a food in a microwave? It's a huge difference in the taste, right? And the satisfaction that we get with that.
So we just did that yesterday. We took Brussels sprouts and sweet potatoes and garlic, and we put them in the oven, and then we ate them the next morning. We shut the oven, and it just slowly cooked them all night. They were amazing this morning.
Yeah. So, and that's how it is. It's like, so you want to so doing just one time, you're doing like this ghee process one time, you're like, I didn't get any results. No, it's not a one-time deal. Like, you're actually going to use it for a couple of days, and you're going to slowly start noticing. Because I was that person. So when I started last year, I was having trouble sleeping, and I did not like the smell of ghee. I did not the taste of the ghee. I was just like, what is this thing? I am not doing this. So my mentor was keep telling me, like, you gotta use ghee, you gotta use ghee. And finally I gave in after a couple of months. So what I did, I didn't even want to touch it. So I said, okay, I'll do it only on my feet. So I would grab knife and then put it at the bottom of my feet, and I would just rub bottom of my feet together, and I would hold my feet up for a while because I didn't want to get it anywhere. But slowly I learned actually how to like create a relationship with ghee. For me, it was a big deal because I grew up like not liking butter, not liking dairy. So that was one thing. And then the other one is the herbal remedies. So it's this herbal supplements that, like, when I went to India, I got to go actually to the forest and got to see the plants, every single, like the bark, the leaf, the fruit, like every parts of it, of a plant is used for a different reason. So like, it was just so amazing to see, like, for example, like the leaf of one plant will help stimulate your digestion, but the fruit will actually decrease your digestion. So it's very great to like learn all these things. And then we went to the factory where they make the medicine, when they make the supplements, and then like they bring them in and they test every individual bag to make sure that they're good. So it was so beautiful to see all of these things. And I got to see, like, I was a person that, like, you know, being at the bedside, a patient comes, okay, you have trouble with your thyroid, here goes a pill, take this, and that's it. That was the only thing I knew of. And when I was there, we went to are you talking about, okay, so I'm going to answer this later. So let me see, where was I? Okay, so yeah, so when you give like one medicine about like to thyroid, and then it's like, okay, here it goes, done, take this, that is it, right? That's what I did with my patients at the bedside. But when I went to India, when I got my pulse check, and the first time, like, so one of the doctors asked, like, do you have autoimmune? And I said, no. And then he said, okay. So he wrote some labs and sent me to the lab, just, you know, and then I came back and I was in a full blown like Hashimoto's, right. So, but I had all these symptoms.
It's a thyroid disease,
right? So I had all these symptoms all these years, and I would keep going to the doctor and they would check some labs and they would keep telling me I was okay, right? I had a horrible hair falls. I had dry skin. I had like bad constipations. Like I had like irritability. I had trouble with like being like cold. Like I was just so sensitive to cold weather. So I had all these symptoms and I would keep going back and I couldn't get the answer. So when I was there, when they checked my pulse, you know, the number for that specific number had to be 4.1 or less than. Mine was 232. So it was that much higher. So then when I stayed in India for 2.5 months, I got to go through the actual process. So then now when I talk to the clients, I get to understand what is it like to go through the process. So I'm not just telling someone to do something. I've gone through it. So I went through the diet change. I went through the lifestyle shift. I went through the panchakarma, which was cleansing. So panchakarma is, you know, there's certain like things that they do, like for example, the oils that goes on the hair, but it very specifically happens. So, and my mom actually did cleansing here in US. So it's a different diet cleanse that you do that helps with, you know, like she did it for a different reason, but she, as a side effect, she ended up losing weight as well too, because you're getting rid of the toxins out of your system. And I really got that, oh my God, like emotional trauma, as simple as leaving country, you know, leaving your hometown and going to a different country and going to a different country, coming and like being in a shock of a new culture, that as simple as that can make it, like if you don't actually deal with the emotional trauma, you kind of shove that back and it's like, no, it's fine, moving forward, they become a sign in your body and it will show and manifest themselves that way, which that was mine that manifested itself in my thyroid. So that, and it was so great to see when being in India, I was like seeing all these patients, because I had the luxury of, and like, you know, sitting at the clinic with other doctors and like checking each patient pulse and getting to know these patients for 2 months. So it was really beautiful. And then like the amount of actually, what is the word I'm looking for? Like the result I got to see, that I call it magic, but it, you know, it's not really magic, it's a science, but the amount of results I got to see have not seen it in the 11 years at the bedside. So it was so beautiful to see that. And that is what it's been like. I want that for everyone. And is the things that we can do at home. As long as we know it, then we can make a choice. We can choose, do I want this or do I want this? And, you know, I'm not supposed to eat, for example, gluten. And when I do eat it, because I choose to eat it sometimes, and I'll pay for it, but I know I've chosen it. Like, it's not a like unconscious of something happened to me. So and that is why I'm so happy for Carolyn allowed us to like share this with everyone, because it's just such a beauty when we're conscious of what's going on, and we can learn, we can choose on our own what's good, what's good for me and what is not.
So just to clarify, so when we talk about detox, there's so much detox that goes on, especially like in the US. We do this diet and this detox and drink this thing. The thing about Ayurveda is we work to loosen up the toxins in the thick layers of our body to get into the hollow layers of our body, the colon, the esophagus, and then we purge them from the body. And there's a simple detox method, 7-day, 30-day, that you can do at home. And then going to India, like she was saying, they do this intense 1-month process to remove, but people have miraculous results, I always say, because they're miracles already. They're just covered up with, you know what? And we have to remove that, you know what? So it looks like a miracle, but it's actually the body has the ability to heal itself, but it just gets so clogged up by how we live our lives and what we eat, that when we unclog it, it's like, oh my God. The good news is it works. The bad news is don't clog it up again. That's the hard part, because we kind of slide back. So we do things seasonally. We do things monthly. Sometimes once a week, we just do a little fast. And it's as simple as making a recipe, one recipe, learning a recipe, very inexpensive, some herbs and spices in your kitchen cabinet. People do this we work with people in many different countries. Some don't have the money to do, so they figure out a really simple recipe and they just do that for 7 days to a month and they get better. Some have more money and time and energy and they could take some herbs because they have more complicated problems. They get better. And some people not necessarily get better, but they get better enough that they can live their lives again. You know, I went to India just recently and I had a huge pain in my back. I had this 25 years ago. I had a really hard 5 days of skiing and it came back again. I see hundreds of patients a week sometimes and I work my body hard. But I went to India, they took an MRI. Everyone I sent the MRI to, they said, you just need surgery. And with this process that I know and trust, I got better. And I'm back to seeing hundreds of patients a week. And the MRI probably doesn't look any different, but all the inflammation is out of the body. And I eat simple enough to keep it going. I do other things. So we need to take care of our body. But one of the greatest lines I heard in chiropractic school is, if you wear out your body, where are you going to live? It's a good line.
I was going to actually say that I'm going to send a mung soup recipe to Carolyn, and then so she can send it to everybody, and you can simply try the mung soup recipe, and mung has a good, like, you can even look it up for yourself, like half a cup of dry mung has 12 grams of protein. So it's high in protein. It's simple. It's easy for our body to digest, and it helps with removing toxins out of the body, and it helps with the inflammation, internal inflammations that we have. So I will send a recipe to Carolyn so Carolyn can share it with you guys. You can choose to go on a 7 days of like the mung soup recipe. So you follow it 7 days, and then you can check for yourself. How do I feel after 7 days? And you can eat it as many times as you want in a day, but that is the only thing you eat on that 7 days. You don't eat anything else. So you have water, and you have your tea, and you have your 1 cup of coffee. Okay. But then that is it. You don't drink the juice and the fruits and all of that. You put away. You have this soup and you do it for 7 days. You can eat it 5, 7, 10 times a day, but that is the only thing you eat. And then you can assess for yourself. How do I feel? How does my body feel? And then you can just go from there and see what else that you want to, like, do you want to continue? Do you want to, and then you can make it actually a habit of doing it if you're someone that has a lot of symptoms. So you can do it once a month for about for 5 days, once a month for like 6 months. And then after that, you can do it seasonally every 3 months. You can do it for 1 week. So then this way is just like, you go clean the pipe. You just like once in a while, you just clean the pipe a little bit. So that's why you do it seasonally. So then you don't clog the things back up. So.
Yeah. And we'll also send the title of the book, because it's sometimes after people read the book, I've sold like 100 copies of the book in the office. After people read the book, they go, oh my God, this is real. Like, we're, medicine is so important, the way we do it. If I cut my hand off, I'm not going to go to the acupuncturist. I'm going to get my hand. We need our medicine for emergency, but it doesn't do great with chronic illness. Chronic illness, we need to learn to treat ourselves. We need to go back to the remedies of our mothers. Mother's Day, honor our mothers and grandmothers, and go back generations. People survived on very simple foods, seasonal foods. And now we can go into the store and eat anything at any time. Doesn't mean it's good for us.
Yeah. And then even there is in the writings, like talks about food and the tablet of like, it just like, it's just eating simple and eating what we know is.
Yeah. Live simply so we can simply live. So thank you all. Thank you all for listening. This is like our first major talk we gave together here. So thank you for hosting us.
Yeah.